Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hammer Territory Podcast. This is episode 198. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you on a Tuesday evening here in mid-May, and I'm joined, as I always am, by Scott Coleman. Scott, we're going live on YouTube. It's a celebratory atmosphere. The Braves are, for the first time the whole season, back to 500. How are you?
Hello, Brad. I am doing great. I think this was the fourth opportunity the Braves have had in the last 2 weeks to get back to 500. And lo and behold, they finally did it. The long national nightmare is officially over. The Braves are 500, which is not a small thing when you start out a season 0-7.
Yeah, it's not a small thing. And we'll get to the nuts and bolts of the game. And it was actually rarely I won't say comfortable. It was a semi-comfortable win by the end. It was not a total nail-biter in the way that every game has been for literally a week before this. It made the rounds yesterday. And by the way, if you missed it yesterday, we had an episode on this same feed from our colleagues, Stephen Tolbert and Sean Coleman, breaking down all things from Monday and beyond and the latest news. But after that game, it was kind of came to light that it was the longest streak in MLB history, with 7 straight games alternating 1-run wins and 1-run losses. It's more of a fun fact than anything. It doesn't really mean anything, but just means you're playing a lot of close games. And to win a game by 3 runs felt like it was a runaway on this particular evening.
Hey, and you know what? The Braves did some things that you need to do to win baseball games consistently. Adding insurance runs late. That's a sight for sore eyes. Mm-hmm. And it's a small thing, but adding that third extra run in the 8th inning to give the Braves a 3-run cushion on a night where they did not have Raisel Iglesias, it just felt like the weight of the world was off everyone's shoulders. A lot to get to on tonight's game. Drake Baldwin had another fantastic night. Every time that kid finds himself in the game, he does something positive to help the team. Spencer Schwellenbach has now had 2 really good starts in a row after a little bit of a shaky end to the month of April. So yes, a lot of good positivity on the show tonight. 2 wins against the Nationals, and hopefully now that they are finally back to 500, they can build off this and kind of put everything in the rearview mirror.
Absolutely. They are 21-14 in the last 35 games. You want to be an optimist. That's pretty good. It's a 97-win pace. Granted, you started 0-7, you dug a hole, but hey, they've been pretty well getting out of it. And we'll come back to the game in a second. We do want to talk about something, though, that was not on-field related. Well, I guess it was on-field related, not game related today for the Braves. And that is the pending return of arguably the best player in baseball, certainly one of the top 5 players in baseball when healthy. His name is Ronald Acuna Jr., and he began his rehab stint officially in the Florida Complex League on Tuesday. As Sean Stephen discussed last night, we're a little bit uncertain as to how this is going to look, but it's by the middle of the day today, it was like, oh, he's going to play today, and it's going to be an official rehab assignment and all those things. And by all accounts, and all we've seen is clips, like they're not televising this game in full, but he homered his third at bat and apparently looked great. So all signs positive for a pretty important player for the Braves.
Yeah, man, it's just so good to see Ronald Acuna Jr. back on a baseball field. If folks have not seen the home run, the Braves Twitter account posted it. And I mean, just the sound of the baseball off of Ronald's bat, it sounds differently than just about every other player in the world. And Ronald not only had the homer, but he also had a really well-hit line drive that the second baseman leaped and caught. So that's encouraging. It was only 5 innings. It was only the Florida Complex League. All of those caveats apply, but so good to see Ronald out there playing a real baseball game. He had the biggest smile on his face when he crossed home plate and went into the dugout. I'm sure for Ronald, just to knock that mental barricade down, to play a semi-real baseball game for the first time in a long time. Really good to see.
Yeah, and by all accounts, and this is something that's been, Ronald in some quarters it's been polarizing, not really to us, but to some people he's been polarizing. But one thing that everyone agrees on with Ronald Acuna is that he loves baseball. The guy loves playing baseball. Like, even when he was unable to run post-injury, he was taking BP and posting videos like this winter, like when he obviously couldn't play yet, but he could stand there and he could swing. And the guy just loves baseball. You definitely see that. You don't want to overly analyze 3 videos that we were able to see tonight, but very, very encouraging there. And then there was a report that actually came out from Daniel Alvarez Montes on Twitter that Ronnie told him he's going to fly to Atlanta on Wednesday and potentially join Gwinnett as soon as Thursday to continue his rehab. That's not been confirmed or announced by the Braves, but it was retweeted by Justin Toscano, Mark Bowman. Like, people that are around the team and presumably would not just blindly retweet that if it was definitely wrong. So I'm going to assume it's right. All the caveats apply, but this is obviously a pretty good sign. And look, our guy Justin Toscano speculated, and to be very sure, he was not reporting; he was speculating. Maybe Ronnie's back in like a week and a half. Like they have a homestand next week. We're not that far away. If he's already, even if it's buzz about him going to Gwinnett, he can't be that far away.
Yeah. It was great to hear that Ronald is planning to be back with the team tomorrow. And then, hey, if he's ready to go, and if the training staff feels like Ronald's knee is ready to go for a rehab assignment, let's do it. We are all jonesing to see him. And I'm not saying that you become reckless with Ronald and push him. And I'm sure he's going to have a day off here and there, not going to play 9 full innings, probably not going to go 1000% right out of the gate too, just to make sure everything is good. But yeah, so exciting, so encouraging. Ronald looks good. The power was there tonight. And of course, we'll see how he looks when he faces better competition. But so far, so good. And the idea that Ronald Acuna Jr. could be in right field and batting leadoff for this team in 10 to 14 to 21 days it's just so exciting to say that out loud. And I know everybody is excited for this kid to come back.
It's kind of funny because I know I think you have been as well. Like we're okay, it seems like, with them being careful with Ronnie in a way that not every fan is, and I totally get that. But I had a feeling in my soul that as soon as Ronnie was on a baseball field in a uniform, he was not going to be okay being slow played too much. You know what I mean? Like once he's out there, get a little bit of a taste of it. They're not going to be able to keep him off the field for very long, I don't think. So maybe he gets to Gwinnett. If that report is accurate, again, it's an if right now. He plays a few games there, I'm sure. But yeah, keep an eye on it. It's coming. Normally we would have led with a pretty big win for the Braves today. We kind of did, but I wanted to make sure we got this in at the beginning because this is big. This is a big deal. Obviously, Ronnie hasn't played in a year. It is what it is. Like most guys would not command first segment treatment after a big win for the Braves, but there's basically one guy that would on the roster, and he happens to be the guy coming back.
Yeah, and it would be, if this timeline that folks are kind of assuming is correct, there's also the countdown clock because the Braves did officially begin Ronald's rehab.
Yep.
So effectively 20 days, the Braves have to activate Ronald from the injured list, if you will. It seems like we're going to come up on basically a full calendar year. I think Ronald tore his knee, I think it was May 25th or May 26th. Humble brag, I was in Sorrento, Italy.
Yeah,
and
I remember that you were gone.
And I knew I was in this little hole-in-the-wall restaurant, which was phenomenal. No cell phone service. I come out and my phone had dinged like 20 times in a row. And I thought, oh no, who died? And then you open up Twitter and I think you texted me and everybody texted me. And of course it was the worst for Ronald. So it will be basically a full calendar year. It seems like for Ronald to come all the way back, and man, just going to be rooting for him so much. And let's hope, even if I don't think it's fair to expect him to be the MVP, otherworldly superstar, at least right out of the gate, let's hope that Ronald is more of himself than the player he was in 2022, which was still fine and frankly better than 70% of major leaguers. But we know how good this kid can be when everything is going right.
Absolutely. And a little bit of synergy, perhaps, if he returns around that date to be like exactly a year later. And hopefully he is himself. And, a positive update. Everyone that was on the scene sharing video, the media people that were there were like, hey, it looks great to us. And that's a small thing, but also not a small thing when you've been out as long as Ronnie has been out. All right, Scott, we can pivot back to the game, and it was a good one. But first, before we get to that, a word from our partners on the show today.
Hey, FT fam. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit, Cam, because we're busy and we would like all of the ingredients to cook up something nice and make us look like elite chefs at home.
You know what I do? I've got kids in basketball, I've got soccer, I've got baseball. And when they get home, there's a fresh meal and they think, oh, Dad, he's so great. Well, no, it's not me. It's HelloFresh. It's nutritious. It's packed full of good nutrients. The kids have good energy, and they look at me like I'm the greatest dad in the world. So make sure you go grab that HelloFresh because you know what? It's doing my family all the good.
Cook up dishes like chicken Dijon and pecan crusted trout, over 100 seasonal snacks, sides, and treats as well. Feel great with meals that fit your spring schedule and make the season even more delicious. Go to HelloFresh.com/FT10FM now to get 10 free meals with a free item for life. 1 per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan.
All right, Scott, we could dive in now to what became a 5-2 victory for the Braves on this Tuesday. Again, a little bit breezier than some of the wins in the past. And you referenced it earlier. Drake Baldwin is a lead story. He's a guy we get questions about all the time. He is obviously a big-time prospect, big-time player. He hits a 2-run homer today when, I don't know about you, I was feeling a little bit pessimistic at the time, given that the Braves were down 2-0. The first pitch of the game goes over the wall for Washington, but hey, Drake to the rescue. And it wasn't only Drake, but that was a big swing to kind of get everybody going, and he had a massive game once again.
Yeah, and we're going to get to Drake Baldwin here in 1 second, but a little bit of hot live breaking news here on the show. But Brian Snitker did confirm.
We'll do it live, Scott. We'll do it live.
Do it live, baby. Live television. Brian Snitker did confirm that Ronald is going to begin the rehab or continue his rehab stint with Gwinnett on Thursday. So
beautiful.
If you are in the area, get your tickets now. That will be really, really cool. And yeah, another player who's really, really cool, Drake Baldwin. Every time this guy plays, something good happens. Whether he starts, whether he pinch hits, whether he's a defensive substitution late in the game and throws out a base runner, Baldwin is so impressive. And he is up to a 160 WRC plus now while playing 40% of the time. That's so hard to do, especially for a young kid who is getting his first taste of the major leagues. That's incredible. And he had another great night on Tuesday. 3 hits, the homer, a double off the wall late that ended up being an insurance run. Had a single as well where he just kind of poked his bat out and popped the ball down the right field line. He is a complete hitter at the age of 24, and that's really hard to find for as difficult and challenging as this game can be for a rookie.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you remember back in March? And look, we're not always right, but we were kind of yelling into the void like, hey, Drake's not struggling. Like the numbers were really bad for the first, I don't know, it was like a week or two. It wasn't very long, but he had really ugly like counting stats. He was like, I think it was like a sub 200, all this stuff. We were like, guys, he looks great. The plate appearances look great. And look, I wasn't expecting him to be back over a 900 OPS by the middle of May. That's how good he has been since that point in time. And maybe he isn't quite this, to be fair. Like, I don't know if anybody's this, but maybe he is. That'd be awesome if he is. And yeah, he looks incredible. And there's 2 things I want to get to. One of them is kind of an internet point, and one of them I want to lead with this. This is more me doing me things. The Braves are awesome at catcher again. And it feels like since you and I started doing this podcast or a version of this podcast like a decade ago, it's almost always been that way. The Braves just somehow figure out a way to be awesome at catcher at all times. Right now, basically, it's almost all Baldwin and Murphy. There was a little bit of Chadwick Trump when Murphy was hurt, but it's mostly Baldwin and Murphy together. They're currently 2 of the top 3 hitters on the team this season in WRC plus, both playing catcher. They have combined for an 860 OPS and a 139 WRC plus. This is catcher, folks. One of my hobby horses for years is that the baseline at catcher is lower than you think that it is. So those numbers are great anywhere. At catcher, those numbers are uber elite, basically. And they're currently top 3 in baseball in Fangraphs WAR at catcher. Like, you can't really be better than that at catcher realistically. And they were really good the previous years. Even last year, when we all know how bad Murphy was by his standards, they were still 11th in baseball. And that's not just National League. That's in all of baseball and catcher WAR, even with Murphy doing that. So, like, you can't overlook that. But here's the transition to point number 2. Catcher's a weird position where you don't have one guy playing every single day. Unless it's JT Realmuto, who plays basically every day. Even the star catchers sit twice a week, you know what I mean, on average, 1.5 times a week. And that kind of throws in this wrinkle that we've been talking around for weeks now about how Baldwin should probably play more. But also you have this guy, Sean Murphy, who, contrary to maybe a lot of fans believe, is actually quite good at baseball and has an all-star background, all that stuff, and is paid well, all these things. Number two story here is like, what do you do? Because I saw Steven did this. I think you did it as well tonight. Are we firing up the Drake Baldwin to left field cannon? Are we about to do this? Because it's a talking point of nothing else. Are you there?
I am ready to have a real conversation about moving Drake Baldwin to left field in some kind of capacity. Now, look, it's easier said than done. From my understanding, Drake has never played outfield, ever. Like high school, minor leagues, never. He is a supreme athlete. I thought one of the coolest nuggets that you had with Gar of the Deck when you talked about the minor league system a month or two ago is that Baldwin was a phenomenal hockey player in high school. He's a really good athlete. Now, moving from catcher to left field, that is easier said than done. But because of some of the things the Braves have done, especially this regimen with Anthopoulos and team, moving players to left field somewhat unconventionally, I don't think it's an absolute zero that they don't at least think about it internally. And if Verdugo continues to not hit much and Eli White, the fairy dust eventually fades, I don't know. I mean, I think it's worth talking about tonight on the podcast after yet another good night for Baldwin.
I don't want to do this. I'll probably be the person pouring the cold water on this, and not because of what you might think. Left field's a spot where you can put guys who can't play defense. If we're being 100% honest about it. Now, a little bit less in Truist Park. It's kind of a weird park for that, but numerous players have been put in left field that are not great defenders. Marcell Ozuna's Braves tenure has included some left field. That's the most recent example. Jorge Soler famously played left field last season. Didn't go very well. It was pretty bad, and they looked at themselves in the mirror and said, we cannot carry him anymore because we have Marcell Ozuna on the team. And this is not new ground, but the presence of Ozuna is the reason why this is actually a discussion point, because if the Braves had a less than standout DH, they would just DH Baldwin Murphy a lot, but they can't do that because Marcell Ozuna is too good to not play. That's the simple version of that. But I just saw in our YouTube comments, Evan Gaddis was brought up. Yeah. Evan Gaddis used to be a catcher. He was going to be a bad catcher. He ended up playing left field. He couldn't play there either, but the bat was good enough for a while. It played. I get all that. I think there are two factors to consider. Number one is what we already led with. Ronald Acuna is coming back pretty soon. And not that you can't play Baldwin in left field with Ronnie, but you do have more options once Ronnie comes back. Maybe you go to a platoon of Eli White and Alex Verdugo, whoever's playing better, whatever it's going to be. That's a better option than having to play both of them every day. That's important to note. Also, Jurickson Profar, who is, I know, probably going to be number one right now, is going to be back in a couple months. Like, he's not going to be gone forever, and they've paid him money. He's going to come back and play, we assume. That's one angle here. The second one is, while Baldwin is a good athlete, I'm glad you led with this. He's never done it before. It's probably going to be bad out there. And by the way, he's actually quite slow, like sprint speed wise. Like, he's a good athlete, but that doesn't mean you're like covering ground in the outfield and making breaks and being able to run and all these things. So I don't know what to do here. And I get the fantasy baseball aspect of it. Like, it's the same. It's not exactly the same. It's similar to people that want to play Eli White at shortstop because he might be able to do it a little bit. And he might be able to do it a little bit, but I think that's more of a fantasy baseball thing than it is a reality thing, if I had to guess. Maybe they'll fake it at some point. Maybe Nick Allen's bat will be so bad at some point that they just can't do it anymore. But with Baldwin, I have no doubt he can stand out there. Even with like 3 days of practice, could probably figure out how to grab a glove. It's the question is, do you want him to do that? Because the other thing is, while they do have Murphy signed long-term, and that matters a great deal in this situation, don't you want Baldwin to still be catching and like honing his craft as a catcher? If you believe he's going to be a star catcher long-term, I'm not saying that playing outfield for 2 months is going to like totally ruin that, but you might want to have him with a catcher's mitt on a lot, like just to get ready to go. And one thing that would be even harder for him to do is play left field sometimes and catcher sometimes. That's really hard to ask for a guy who is really talented, but there's like just so many dominoes that I personally would not do it, but I do understand why people do want to do it.
Yeah. It is definitely something that would require a lot of creativity and moving parts. And you're right. When Acuna comes back, then you're only trying to fill one outfield spot at night, assuming everybody's healthy with Acuna and Harris. So maybe we won't feel the outfield crunch as much. If you're playing Verdugo and Eli White, you could probably roll with the hot hand. I don't know. I probably view those two players as relatively equals in my mind. But if Drake Baldwin continues to hit like this,
I get it. I really do.
and it's not just like he has results. His at-bats are phenomenal. He had that game-winning hit against the Reds last week against Taylor Rogers, who is a nasty lefty, and Baldwin battled him for 7 or 8 pitches, kept fouling stuff off, and then got a fastball up in the zone and ripped it to left field. That is an at-bat that longtime major leaguers dream of having. And he's so advanced. And no, it is not a simple, let's just move him to left field. This is not moving a center fielder to left field or a shortstop to second base or a first baseman to DH. This is something that would require a lot. You're right that you would have to then figure out the schedule of when Sean Murphy is going to sit. Then you have to make sure Baldwin's ready to catch. It is not a clean 1-for-1 by any means, but Baldwin might be so good and he might be such a good hitter that at some point the Braves internally have to have a very real conversation, because they have done this in the past with Austin Riley. William Contreras moved to left field for a while. Like, it's not completely out of the question for this organization.
Yeah, it is the one spot where you can do it. And this is probably a more winter conversation, but it does make you think a little bit about the long term, because Murphy is signed. And while I get all that, Ozuna is a free agent. And if Ozuna is not on the team, and again, you're worse right away if you don't have Marcell Ozuna, who's been really good for 2 years now. Like, that's a real thing. I'm not downplaying that. But most other teams would just have a natural solution to this problem. And by the way, problem is using a giant quote. This is not a problem to have 2 awesome catchers. That's a good thing that you're going to want to have. But they just don't have the stash position. And maybe that's left field for 2 months or whatever it's going to be. So we'll see. I'm not totally out. If they announce tomorrow that they're handing Drake Baldwin a left fielder's glove, I won't be upset. I just will be a little bit more uneasy than some might be. But hey,
sure,
they're not going to ruin him in 2 months. I don't think. He's a tough kid by all accounts, smart kid by all accounts, and it'll be fine. And it's going well at catcher for the Braves.
Yeah, life, death, taxes. The Atlanta Braves have good catching. It's been for 35 years now. They've had really good catching.
That is somehow true. All right, we managed to go an entire segment on the Braves catchers because that's what we do on this podcast, Scott. In a moment, we'll round out the rest of this game, Schwellenbach, look ahead a little bit to the rest of the series, but first a word from our partners on the show.
Hey, for the card collectors out there, you need to know about Arena Club. You can check out our showrooms. We've all got cards in there. You can buy, you can sell, you can trade, and you can rip packs. They're called slab packs, Kratz. And then what happens if you don't like what you pulled?
You get an instant offer. But before you get that instant offer, you can show your showroom around, kind of like when I used to put the cards in the sleeves and my buddies would come over and show them. Now, bang, show them on the phone. Instant offers right there if I need it.
Yep, that instant offer is for the estimated fair market value. Accept it on the spot. Acquire the best value for your money with Slab Packs, transparent checklists, and Arena Club's Slab Safe program. Whether you're buying, selling, trading, grading, or ripping packs, Arena Club is the safest, most trusted in the game. Right now, you can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/foul and use code FOUL. That's arenaclub.com/foul, code FOUL.
Okay, Scott, offensively, not too much more to add to the game on Tuesday, other than just noting that Ozzy Albies had this really, really, really ugly slump going on, and he got 2 hits today, including an RBI. Nice to see. Doesn't fix everything, but it's just I think it was 0 for 28. It was about a week without anything good for Ozzy, so that's a small win, maybe some optimism for the future.
2 hits tonight for Ozzy, including that additional insurance run in the 8th was great. And that was kind of like the quintessential, like what we know Ozzy Albies for. It was a pitch off the plate, which is the whole thing, but just banged the ball into left center field, got the runner in, had a single earlier. I think at one point Ozzy was 0 for 31. 0 for 31 with 1 walk over his last 32 plate appearances. He needed it. We're not going to say that he's back and the World Series is back on after a 2-hit night, but I'm sure Ozzy's sleeping a little bit better tonight.
Yeah, just a small win. Other than that, not too much else to add other than I've seen some stuff in the chat about Matt Olson. I know Matt Olson's not playing that well right now by his standards. The underlying stuff is the underlying stuff. Looks great. Not worried. And I don't mean anything by this, but the Nick Allen fall off has happened with the swiftness offensively and the way that it probably was always going to. The glove is very helpful. Sans the error that we all lamented the other night that almost cost the Braves, I should say. But nothing else to really add offensively in this game unless you do.
No, nothing really. It was great that the offense picked up Schwellenbach, the 2-0 early deficit, and it was like, here we go again. They're going to lose another game when they could get to 500. Old friend Michael Soroka on the mound. But the offense, great job. Baldwin, big tip of the cap. And then a nice job by the rest of the lineup to add on and give some insurance late.
11 hits. 11 hits is a good figure for the Braves.
Yeah.
Only 5 runs. That's not a crazy output, but 11 hits and only 2 extra base hits. So a bunch of singles. You don't always love singles, but it is what it is. On the pitching side, this will be breezy. Spencer Schwellenbach looked good. I poked fun at the first pitch of the game home run that he allowed, but even then, that pitch was out of the zone, which is a great swing by an opposing player. What are you going to do? And from there, he settles in 7 innings, 2 earned runs, 6 base runners allowed, pitched very well, and gave the Braves a chance the entire way, and the bullpen slammed the door.
Yeah, and one thing on Schwellenbach I wanted to mention, he is so good defensively.
Woo.
On the
former
mound.
I'm not sure if you heard this guy. He's a former shortstop. Have you ever heard that before?
Really?
He played shortstop. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great running joke at this point. But yeah, I mean, he can field his position really well. Worked into the 7th inning. I think Schwellenbach made it through the 6th and 7th innings with a combined 16 pitches or something like that to kind of help bridge the gap. And just a tip of the cap to Schwellenbach. 2 good starts in a row after really just kind of a rough patch of games. And that's to be expected. He is still young. Sometimes when you're so good right out of the gate, you get unfair expectations. But really nice job. 7 innings tonight. Did not need to tax the bullpen. And credit to both Dylan Lee and Pierce Johnson for covering the 8th and 9th without any kind of drama.
Yeah, no drama. And we will leave, at least for tonight, the Iglesias conversation to Sean and Steven yesterday. I talked about this ad nauseum. He's not pitched well this season. That's fair to say. He also was not really bad last night. He got very unlucky. Nick Allen makes the first error of the season at a bad time, all those things. So we'll see. But I think people were, at least the people that I saw were like, oh, is he not a closer anymore? I don't think that's the case. He didn't pitch tonight because he had pitched the 2 previous days. It's a pretty obvious thing. They don't like, I think they've done it like 2 or 3 times ever since he got here, pitched 3 days in a row. They don't like to do that. And I think that was a pretty normal, especially once they're up by 3, like there's no reason to pitch him again. And we'll see on Wednesday, perhaps, if the Braves need Iglesias. I don't know where your confidence level is on him, but mine's probably higher than the fan base's is, but not through the roof, to be very, very clear.
Need you to figure it out soon, Iggy. Look, you're right. Last night was not really his fault. He gave up a couple of hits, but it's going to happen. But Rysel has been anything but good. My concern level, a 1 being not a concern in the world, a 10 being full alarm sirens ringing. Like a 6, I think, for me. Yeah. I don't feel good when Rysel Iglesias comes in the game, and that's 1, not what you want with your closer, and 2, it's just not something we've really seen from him since the trade, or really his whole career. He has been awesome.
Yeah,
just have to hope he figures some things out.
I do find myself being a little bit thankful that this is his last season under contract. Because if that was a longer term deal right now, I would be more concerned than I am now. Because look, the long and short of it is, if it goes bad, they can pull the plug. I'm not at that point, to be very clear. The next time he's called upon, I give him the ball in the role. But if he blows up for another 2 weeks or whatever, you could just yank him, and maybe not forever. If he's owed $50 million still, it's like a lot harder to kind of do that dance, but maybe not. Anyway, that's a different topic for another day. All right, Scott, let's look ahead to the rest of the series and give a rare semi-quick show from you and I, who are prone to being long on this podcast. 2 more games left in the series. It's a 4-gamer. They play Wednesday night and then Thursday afternoon. Wednesday is probably the worst pitching matchup of the 4 games on paper, which is reflected in the betting market. And before anybody says anything, I look at the betting market to tell you what the projections are more than anything about betting. But it's Bryce Elder against Mitchell Parker. And as we said a lot the last week or two, Bryce has pitched really well. So I'm not saying that they can't play well with Bryce Elder. I'm just saying on paper, this is one of the Nationals' better starters and probably still the Braves' worst starter. So we'll see how this goes. But the Braves are still favored to win the game. And I think the Nationals' bullpen, by the way, is a catastrophe by all accounts. So that's obviously advantage Braves on paper.
Yeah. Let's hope the Braves can keep it rolling. They got to 500. Let's not go back below. And Bryce Elder has done a really good job in his last really 2-3 weeks, getting a decent amount of swing and miss, which is really encouraging. Not a lot of hard contact. And Mitchell Parker, who's starting for the Nationals, is a lefty. So we'll see what they do with the lineup. And Parker is interesting. His numbers are all over the place. Not a lot of strikeouts, a lot of walks, but he's given up 1 home run in 40 innings this season. He's due for some regression. Hopefully the Braves can take advantage. And let's have a breezy win, Brad. Yeah, I want to be greedy, but let's not do another 3-2 ball game or 4-3 ball game or extra innings. Those just, extra innings just kill me. Let's hope the Braves can keep it rolling. The Nationals have lost 7 in a row, I think now, and just they got off to a pretty good start, but I think they're starting to falter the way we kind of expected them to falter as the season wore on.
Yeah, Parker, like you said, has the interesting peripherals. He does have a 91st percentile barrel rate, so he does not get hit hard. That's the way he tends to succeed is by not getting hit hard, basically. But that can change as fast as possible, and maybe as soon as Wednesday. Elsewhere, quickly, because we might not have a podcast because the Braves play on Thursday afternoon. Barring big news on Wednesday, we will not have a show Wednesday night because it's a very quick turnaround. And the Braves end the series with Smith Shawver against Trevor Williams. And it's like a Scott Coleman morning game. I believe it's like a 9 a.m. start for those of you in Arizona like Scott is. That'll be an interesting watch for you on Thursday. But 2 winnable games. They're at home. We know the story. Like you said, you said it perfectly. Let's just not go back below 500. From this point forward, the best thing you could possibly, if they could just win another one and say, all right, a little cushion, stay there and up, and up, and no guarantees, but certainly a better vibe today than it's been for a little while. And 500, you could say it's overrated. Maybe it's it's kind of an arbitrary endpoint, but still, it just feels better than below it, especially when you've been under that number all year long. It's like you try to get there and you get there and you get there and you can't quite get there, and now they're finally there, and maybe go to the green now instead of the red. That'd be fun.
Yeah, you can tell yourself a fun story of from 5-13. So at one point they were 8 games below 500, 8 games below 500, back to 500 in a month, basically. That's really good. And Acuna is getting closer. Spencer Strider will throw a bullpen on Wednesday, and then the Braves will make a decision. But it seems like, and I'm guessing that Strider will be back with the team maybe this weekend in Boston, or early next week when they go to Washington to play the Nationals. Strider back, Acuna back. Let's get everybody healthy. The last freaking thing, I'm going to bang on every piece of wood in my house. The last thing we need is an injury now. Get everybody healthy. And then let's start, let's have a summer that the Braves, and we were all hoping to have a team that looks like a playoff team and is going to keep winning games and hopefully not relying on 1-run blood pressure rising wins every night, because those are going to kill us all by the middle of June.
Yeah, I'm legitimately worried about Steven's health if this continues. So shots to our guy.
Yeah,
just a lot of wear and tear. Some of these late nights. Listen, Scott, at least the games are getting over at a reasonable hour out where you are. These are some late nights for us when these games go late and extra innings, and it might kill Steven by the end of the season if this is not proved. So
I have to say, now that we have quite a bit of data, the pitch clock is maybe the greatest thing to happen to Major League Baseball in the history of the game.
It is delightful, and we love baseball. We are 99th percentile higher baseball fans, and we still 100% agree with you on that.
Alex Anthopoulos, I think, said it best. What has that guy done? But Alex Anthopoulos told, I think it was Buster Olney in a radio interview, he loves baseball. Baseball has been his livelihood for 20 years. He's a very wealthy man because of baseball, and it's his life work. But he does not love 4-hour baseball games in May or any time of year, quite honestly.
Yeah, we're here.
I really wasn't sure, and here we are. That was our random pitch clock segment of the night, but We are pro pitch clock, and it just no one wants to sit there for 4 hours, even as people who love baseball.
Speaking of pitch clocks, let us get out of here. How about that for a segue at the end of the podcast? Scott, if we have new listeners, and we might actually, because we're live on YouTube, someone might have found us for the first time. We appreciate it. We're part of Foul Territory. Subscribe. Scott, if they want to follow more from you individually, where can they do that?
I am at Scott Coleman 55 on socials, and I will keep it brief so you don't hit me with a pitch clock violation. I don't know what that means, but keep it brief.
Follow this man. Follow Scott Coleman on social media. Follow me if you want to. I'm at BT Rowland, Twitter, Blue Sky, all those places. We're also as a show at Hammer Territory on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We will, blast out extra things and follow us all. And please, please, please do us a favor. Subscribe to the podcast anywhere you find your podcasts. If you're listening on the audio side, that's fantastic. I personally am an audio listener to podcasts. That's just my vibe. But a lot of people go YouTube as well. You can do both. Subscribe, like, rate, review, tell your friends. We appreciate it. And without any further delay, we'll sign off here. Thanks for listening, everybody. We definitely appreciate it. And we'll see you all next time.